I am Michael Wilhoit with Brolug. This build right here it's called Classic APOC or something because I couldn't really think of a good name for it. But it's basically kind of shattered apocalyptic style building. And I kind of wanted to go for something a little bit different from the standard. And so I brought in a bit of a Native American theme, as you can see with some of the minifigures on here and the decoration across the chains and whatnot. I kind of actually started out with this, with trying to complete it, but I didn't have enough parts to actually complete the whole thing. So I ended up just making it destroyed on one side, so it would kind of change themes.
And so when you were designing this, what did your sort of conceptualization process look like? Was there a lot of diagrammatic sketching, or was it more of just kind of mocking it out and seeing how it looks?
I just kind of fleshed it out as I went along. If something popped into my head, aesthetically, if I picked up a piece and it looked like it would fit somewhere, I did that. I had to redo the columns, though, on the edges, on the corners at least. The gray columns here, I had to go through and rebuild them to add the destruction. The first two floors on the top, with the lights in them, I did not add the interior until after I was halfway through it, so I had to tear it apart and put it back in again. I really don't have a very organized building style. I kind of most people go from bottom to top or top to bottom. I go from middle out.
Would you say that most apocalyptic builders tend to have a chaotic building style such as yourself?
I mean, I'd hope so.
It kind of goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, APOC's a pretty chaotic theme, so I'd think that having a chaotic kind of style would be perfect for it.
Now, for someone wondering how to kind of just sort of get started building something like this, what would you advise that they do?
Wow, that's a tough question. Use a lot of techniques that aren't seen a whole lot, but also use common techniques in interesting ways. So snots, in this little corner with the rubble and everything, I used some hinge bricks as well as some standard connections to give it a kind of flowing but also crumbling feel. And then using cloth is one thing I love to do. These parts up here are from a boat, and I use that as kind of a canopy to cover up this little apocalyptic hideout. I also use a lot of parts that are from older, kind of I guess, girl-y themes, as Lego calls them. Yeah.
A grill from Scala, right?
Yeah, of course, Scala. I love Scala, actually. I use a lot of cloth from Scala, and I use a lot of just parts in general from Scala because it's really nice.
And if you want to go into maybe a little bit more detail about the interior there, because it's really neat the way you've got all those tiles and plates going all different directions and stuff. What was that like for you?
Okay, for the interior, I didn't really have much direction on what I wanted to make the building exactly, so I just kind of made 3 rooms per floor. And I used most of my dark tan, small dark tan brick collection, making the walls and the destruction and everything. And, interesting with that, too, is with destruction especially, I try to make different styles based on what material it would be in real life. So, the crumbling floors and stuff, I have rebar sticking out of it because in real life you'd see that kind of thing, wooden beams and stuff. This is, supposed to be drywall, so it's kind of cracked and shattered, as well as the rubble on the floor here. That would kind of just be a big pile of dust.
And so let's move around to the other side of the creation and take a look at it from a different angle. And so this appears to be the more less crazy side, the side where not much has happened.
Yeah. Funny thing is, I would have, if this was on its own little island, I probably would have done more with the back here. But since this is kind of facing towards the space hideout, I kind of left this a little barren because it didn't really matter as much for the public to see it. I'm still pretty pleased myself with how the garage doors came out, and I probably, in hindsight, I could have done more, but also I finished this a day before coming down here, so...
And so if this was a real building, what would it be?
Oh gosh, it's hard to say. I think an office complex or something, because, I didn't really add any kind of home decor, or I didn't add any, shop aisles or kind of signage like that, so I think maybe some kind of office building, I guess. In fact, someone pointed out that it was a bit reminiscent of, the Oklahoma City building.
Yeah. The one that was bombed?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I can see that.
Kind
of has that sort of 80s, 60s, 70s, brutalist.
Yeah, brutalism. I love brutalism. It's a great architecture style.
All right, Well, awesome, Bill. Thanks so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you guys. It was nice being interviewed.